August 2015, Germany under Angela Merkel suspended the Dublin regulations, which stipulated that asylum seekers must seek asylum in the first EU country they arrive in. Merkel also announced that Germany would accept Syrian refugees even if they had already passed through other European countries on their way to Germany. It marked the moment Germany lost control of its migration system and opened the door to a wave of migration unlike anything the country had seen before. And the numbers climbed even higher the following year. All these migrants brought their own cultures, values, and practices with them. According to reports, they are responsible for 34% of the crimes committed in Germany. But are these migrants the only reason Germany is suffering?
Europe is reeling again from shocking Islamist extremist terrorist attacks.
They say that if they cannot take care of themselves, how are they supposed to take care of refugees?
The terrorist group ISIS is now claiming responsibility for that horrific stabbing attack in Germany.
Muslim cleric from a German mosque who urged his followers to kill as many people as possible.
Welcome to Behind the Numbers, and today we will be talking about what made life in Germany unbearable. It takes a lot of time, effort, and heart to bring these videos for you, so kindly hit that subscribe button. If you look deeply, letting migrants in doesn't make any sense, but if you look closely, there's another side to it as well. The number one reason is Germany's declining birth rate. The working age population is shrinking by around 300 to 400,000 people every year, and Germany's birth rate in 2023 was recorded at just 1.3 children per woman. But that's not the only reason Germany had to open its doors to migrants. Another major reason is the country's debt break clause, a rule written into Germany's constitution that limits new government borrowing to just 0.35% of GDP. Compared to most other countries, Germany's borrowing limit is incredibly strict. This limited Germany's ability to invest or even to attract investment. So instead of improving its productivity, Germany increased the size of its economy by adding more people to it. Germany's overall GDP did rise because of this, but GDP per capita remained mostly stagnant. It created growth on paper without any real change on the ground, but immigration isn't the only problem Germany is dealing with. One of the biggest issues in recent years has been its trade performance. During 3 out of last 6 years, the German economy contracted, despite the fact that Germany is referred to as the Export-Weltmeister, the export champion. Germany literally has the lowest economic growth among all G7 countries. The thing is, Germany relied heavily on China for its exports, but in recent years, its exports to China have seen a decline, and that alone would have been manageable. The real shock is that China has now become Germany's biggest competitor in the automotive industry. China's share of global car production rose to 34%, while Germany's dropped to just 4%. In 2024, Germany's crown jewel, Volkswagen, announced it would shut down 3 of its factories in Germany. The reason was weak demand and rising competition that had taken over the market. And it's not just the automotive industry, it's happening everywhere. Factories are shutting down and layoffs are spreading across nearly every industry in Germany. Wages in Germany have barely grown over the past decade. And then there's Germany's strict tax system. On average, Germans give away nearly half of their income in taxes and social contributions. And even with that much contribution from the people, the German government has failed to solve the housing crisis. Germany is second to last in home ownership across Europe. And when you combine all of this with immigration pressures, life in Germany starts to feel increasingly strained for many people. In recent years, we've also seen more Germans, especially skilled workers, looking for opportunities elsewhere. And whenever economic pressure builds like this, political extremes tend to rise. That's exactly what we've seen in Germany with the growing popularity of the right-wing party AfD. For many, it represents a break from the current system and a possible solution to the ongoing crisis, but critics argue it could push Germany in a far more dangerous direction. The AfD has taken strong positions on immigration, the European Union, and socially conservative issues like LGBTQ rights and abortion. In Germany, a country long known for its liberal democratic values, now finds itself deeply divided over its future direction. We've seen this pattern before in other countries. When economic stress and political anger rise together, extremism follows, and the long-term cost is often instability at home and strained relationships abroad. And immigration itself is not necessarily the problem. After all, countries like Canada, Australia, and even Germany have relied on immigration for decades. The real challenge begins when integration fails. A society can absorb newcomers, but only when there is a shared commitment to the country's laws, of values, and way of life. Across Europe, governments have increasingly focused on integration rather than mass deportation. Countries such as France, Belgium, Austria, and Denmark have introduced restrictions on face coverings in public spaces, while others have tightened rules around religious practices in schools and government institutions. The goal has not been to send migrants back home, but to encourage them to adapt to the norms of the societies they choose to live in. Because in the end, a successful immigration policy is not just about bringing people in, it's about making sure they become part of the nation they move to. But this isn't the first time Germany has faced a crisis. Back in the 1990s, after reunification, the country struggled with slow growth, high unemployment, and rising costs. Many economists even called Germany the sick man of Europe. Yet within a decade, Germany managed to turn things around. Through economic reforms, a strong manufacturing base, and booming exports, it regained its status as Europe's economic powerhouse. That's why many Germans remain optimistic today. They've been written off before, and they proved the critics wrong. The question now is whether Germany can reinvent itself once again in a rapidly changing world. So, has Germany become unbearable to live in? Well, the answer depends on who you ask. Germany is still one of the safest, richest, and most developed countries in the world. Its infrastructure, institutions, and quality of life remain the envy of many nations. But at the same time, the cracks are becoming harder to ignore. Economic growth has stalled, wages have barely moved, home ownership remains out of reach for many. Factories are shutting down, and industries that once defined German strength are facing pressure from competitors abroad. Even Germany's public services are beginning to show signs of strain. Germany spends more on healthcare than any other country in the European Union. Yet despite the massive spending, many patients still struggle to get timely access to care. On average, people have to wait around 42 days just to see a specialist. And when people are paying high taxes, they naturally expect high-quality services in return. That frustration is now spilling over into politics, fueling polarization and pushing more voters toward parties promising radical change. The real question is not whether Germany is in trouble. The real question is whether Germany can reinvent itself once again before today's challenges become tomorrow's crisis. And with that, it's time for us to call it a day. Subscribe to our channel and don't forget to click the bell icon.